William Clark Gable was an American cinema actor who was known as the King of Hollywood. He was born on February 1st, 1901. Over the course of his 37-year career, of which 3 decades were spent as a leading man, he appeared in more than 60 films across a wide variety of genres. A native of Ohio, Gable moved to Hollywood in the years 1924 and 1926 and worked as a background actor in silent films. He eventually became a supporting player for Metro-Goldwyn, and Joan Crawford specifically cast him in the role of Fool's Dance in 1931. Next, he starred with icon Jean Harlow in the romantic drama Red Dust, 1932, which established him as MGM's top male star. In 1934, Frank Capra romantic comedy It Happened One Night, co-starring Claudette Colbert. Gable earned the Academy Award for Best Actor as Fletcher Christian in Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935, and Rhett Butler opposite Vivien Leigh's Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind in 1939. He was nominated for the Oscar once more in 1939 with Manhattan Melodrama, 1934, San Francisco, 36, Saratoga, 37, Test Pilot, 38, and Boomtown, 40, 3 of which co-starred Spencer Tracy. He achieved continuous economic and critical success. Gable served as an aerial photographer and bomber gunner in Europe for 2 years during World War II. While the films he returned to afterwards did not receive positive reviews from the critics, they fared well at the box office. The Hucksters in 1947, Homecoming, 48, all starring newcomer Grace Kelly, led to a critical renaissance for him. Later, he co-starred with Burt Lancaster in westerns and war films like Run Silent, Run Deep, 58, as well as a new generation of leading ladies in comedies and dramas like Teacher's Pet, 58, with Doris Day. It started in Naples, 1960s, with Sophia Loren, and The Misfits, 1963, with the beautiful Marilyn Monroe. Gable was one of Hollywood's most reliable earners, with 16 separate appearances in Top 10 Money-Making Stars poll compiled by Quigley Publishing. The American Film Institute ranked him as the 7th greatest male film star of the golden age of Hollywood. What do you think? As an on-screen romantic partner, he shared the screen with a number of iconic females. 8 of the films he starred in together featured Joan Crawford, one of my favorites, and it was one of his favorites to collaborate with. He co-starred with Myrna Loy 7 times and Jean Harlow 6 times. He co-starred in 3 films with Norma Shearer and Ava Gardner, and 4 with Lana Turner. William Henry Will Gable, 1860, an oil well driller, and his wife Adeline gave birth to William Clark Gable on February 1st, 1901, in Ohio. His parents had different religious beliefs. William Gable was named after his father, although he was more often known as Clark and was often referred to as the child, quote unquote. The doctor's poor handwriting led to a mix-up in the county record, where he was first listed as both male and female before the clerk made the appropriate change. His roots were in Belgium and Germany. When Gable was 6 months old, he was baptized as a Roman Catholic in Ohio. He lost his mom when he was just 10 months old. The Hershelman family was not happy that his father had chosen not to raise him as a Catholic. His father and his Uncle Charles Hershelman's wife worked out their differences so they could spend time with them on the farm in Vernon Township, Pennsylvania. Jenny Dunlap, 1874, the mother of Gable, was married to Gable's father in April 1903. Gable's stepmother instilled in the tall, quiet youngster with a booming voice the importance of looking good and speaking politely. She was an accomplished pianist and taught him to play at their house. When he was 13, he joined the Hopedale Men's Town Band as the sole boy in the band. Gable enjoyed working on vehicles with his father and was encouraged to pursue masculine interests, quote unquote, like hunting and manual labor. Gable was also a literary buff who, when in good company, would recite Shakespearean sonnets. After his father encountered financial troubles and wanted to try his hand at farming. Although Gable's father demanded that he help out on the farm, he eventually left to take a job at Firestone, and Gable saw the Bird of Paradise when he was 17 and was immediately moved to pursue acting as a career. However, he was unable to do so until he reached 21 and received his $300 inheritance from the Hershelman Trust. Following the passing of his stepmother in 1920, his father relocated the family to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where he resumed working in the oil industry. Before going to the Pacific Northwest, he spent some time with his father wildcatting and cleaning up oil fields in Oklahoma. Gable worked his way through the country in low-budget stock companies by performing in tent shows and lumber factories. From the Midwest, he traveled to Portland, Oregon, where he found work selling neckties for Mayer and Frank. Local theatrical performer Earl Larimore, nephew of Laura Hope Cruz, who co-starred as Gable's Aunt Pitty Pat in Gone with the Wind, also worked there. They strongly urged Gable to get back into playing. The Red Lantern Players was Larimore's theater troupe, but he didn't encourage Gable to join. However, he did introduce him to Franz Dorfler, and the two soon began dating. Gable's lack of expertise was clear after the pair auditioned for the Astoria Players, but the theater organization accepted him after some convincing from Larimore. After the group's bankruptcy, Gable and Dorfler relocated to Astoria, Oregon, and where Gable found work at Pacific Telephone while also enrolling in evening dramatic classes in Portland. Portland's theatrical manager, Josephine Dillon, was Gable's acting tutor. She footed the bill for a dentist visit and a haircut for him. She helped him recover from his malnutrition by teaching him how to stand up and sit more upright. His high-pitched voice was gradually lowered. His speech patterns were refined, and his expressions became more authentic with time. Dillon thought Gable was ready to try out for movies after she trained him for a while. One reviewer for Gable's 1928 film, starring Zita Johann, called him young, strong, and ruthlessly macho. In 1924, Gable and Dillon made the trip to Hollywood. Dillon, 17 years his senior, became not just his manager, but also his wife. He went by both W.C. Gable and Clark Gable before settling on Clark. The Merry Widow, 1925, by Eric von Stroheim. The Plastic Age, 1925, by Clara Bow, and Forbidden Paradise, 1924, by Pola Negri, all featured her as an extra. Lionel Barrymore, who first rebuked Gable for what he considered inadequate acting, but encouraged him to continue with theater anyway, became a lifetime friend. In Houston, Texas, he worked with Laskin Brothers Stock Company in 1927 through 28, theatrical season, where he was a local matinee idol and portrayed a wide range of roles. Later, Dillon tried to get him a job on Broadway, so he relocated to New York City. In March 1928, Gable and Dillon, after the finalization of his divorce in April 1930, Gable wed Maria Franklin Prestis Lucas Lingham, better known as Rhea, a Texan socialite. Due to the possible differing legal procedures across states, they remarried in 1931 after relocating to California. Kraft Pictures offered Gable a contract in 1930 after seeing him perform as the angry and desperate killer Mears in a Los Angeles stage performance of The Last Mile. The Painted Desert, a low-budget William Boyd Western, was his first sound film performance and only feature for the company. After the film's delayed release caused financial issues for the studio, Gable departed for a job at Warner Brothers. That same year, Gable portrayed a malevolent driver in Night Nurse, knocking out Barbara Stanwyck's character for trying to save two children he was slowly starving to death. In the initial script, James Cagney was supposed to play the supporting character, but after the success of The Public Enemy, he was promoted to the lead. Warner Brothers president Darryl F. Zanuck said this about Gable, following casting tests for the gangster thriller Little Caesar. His ears are too huge and he looks like an ape. 1931. Gable was signed by MGM's Irving Thalberg in 1930 for $6.50 a week after he was rejected by Zanuck during a screen test. He retained the services of agent Mina Wallace, sister of producer Hal Wallace, whose roster of clients included such luminaries as Norma Shearer, Myrna Loy, and Claudette Colbert. Gable's cameo in the aviation picture was almost as significant as Wallace Beery's, so much so that Gable was given a second billing above the title on the lobby card. When Gable first arrived in Hollywood, MGM was trying to add more male stars to its roster, and he was the perfect fit. In 1931, he collaborated with actor Wallace Beery on two films. First, he was given seventh billing in The Secret Six, despite playing a far larger role than his billing would imply. And then he was given second billing in a role almost as huge as the film's star, Alec Beery, in the naval aviation picture Hell Divers. Screenland magazine pushed Gable's lumberjacked in evening clothes image, and MGM's PR manager, Howard Strickland, ran with it. MGM's numerous pairings of him with famous female stars helped to boost his fame. His role in Dance Fools Dance was requested by Joan Crawford in 1931. His debut in the leading role was achieved here. Seeing the chemistry between Crawford and Gable, studio chief Louis B. Mayer cast them in 7 additional films and recast John McBrown as Crawford's leading man in Complete Surrender, renaming the pictures Laughing Sinners in 1931. After his portrayal as a mobster who shoves Norma Shearer's character in a Free Soul, 1931, became well known, Gable was never cast in a supporting role again. The studio took note once he began receiving a flood of fan mail after his performance. As reported by The Hollywood Reporter, "We have created a future superstar who by all accounts will eclipse the popularity of any other star in the sky. Never before have we witnessed an audience whip themselves up into such a frenzy over the appearance of Clark Gable." Together with Greta Garbo, Gable featured in the 1931 film Susan Lennox, Her Fall and Rise, and the romantic picture Possessed, 1931. The real-life romance between Gable and Crawford was eventually labeled the affair that nearly burnt Hollywood down. When Gable began romantically pursuing Marion Davies during their time working together in Polly of the Circus, Louis B. Mayer threatened to cancel both their contracts. Despite being a strong swimmer and having a large frame, Gable was passed over for the part of Tarzan in Tarzan the Ape Man in favor of Johnny Weissmuller. Soon after, in Strange Interlude 32, the second of 3 films Gable and Shearer would make together for MGM, Gable played the romantic lead alongside Shearer. Red Dust, 1932, a romantic comedy drama set on a rubber plantation in Indochina, featured Gable and Jean Harlow. The character played by Gable, a plantation manager associated with Harlow's wisecracking girl, begins to pursue Mary Astor's prim aristocratic bride after her arrival. There were many who believed Harlow was the star, but most people agreed that Gable made a great on-screen companion. Red Dust, which also starred Jean Harlow, established him as MGM's top romantic leading man. After Gable's success, MGM promoted Myrna Loy, who had been a supporting player in Night Flight, to a co-starring part in 1933 picture Men in White. Hold Your Man, 1933, China Seas, 1935, and Wife vs. Secretary, 1936, all starred Clark Gable and Jean Harlow, with Myrna Loy co-starring, with James Stewart as supporting actor. Gable and Harlow were a hit both on and off screen, and they collaborated on 6 films over the course of 5 years. The third picture they worked on together, Saratoga, 1937, was even more successful than their previous efforts. Harlow passed away while filming was still in progress, and Gable stated he felt like he was in the arms of a ghost when filming the final sequences, which were done using long shots or duplicates like Mary D's. In 1934, MGM paid Gable $2,000 a week to do nothing, since they did not have a project ready for him that piqued his interest. Studio mogul Louis B. Mayer made a weekly profit of $500 by lending him to Columbia at a rate of $2,500. Although Capra had intended someone else, Columbia insisted on having Gable portray newspaper reporter Peter Warren against Claudette Colbert's spoiled heiress in the romantic comedy It Happened One Night in 1934. At first, Robert Montgomery was supposed to play the lead, but he turned down the part because he thought the writing was bad. Even though Gable and director Frank Capra had some initial jitters while filming, they ended up having a great time shooting the movie, which sees their characters, played by Gable and Colbert, trying to get from Florida to New York by any means necessary. Gable won Best Actor, and Colbert won Best Actress for their roles in It Happened One Night, making it the first film to win all 5 major Oscars. The critics hailed the fast-paced farce that would enter into a whole new romantic genre, the screwball comedy. Since Gable didn't wear an undershirt in the film, sales of men's undershirts plummeted as a result of the publicity around the film. Capra felt that Gable's role in the picture was quite similar to Gable's true personality, and this helped revive Gable's career. What occurred as a result of One Night? Gable became an even larger star than he already was. He was the top earner at the box office from 1934 to 1942, when World War II halted his career. Mr. and Mrs. H were married at the Margaret Mitchell House and Museum, also known as the Gone with the Wind Museum in Atlanta, Georgia. We had pictures of Clark Gable and Scarlett O'Hara at every table. Thank you for tuning in.